Hi, my name is T. Today I'm going to show you a real Soviet apartment with a lot of things, Soviet things, that a person held dear and cherished during all her life. Of course, we won't see anything personal or private, but I'm pretty sure that all the Soviet people had some kind of common traits. So things that we're going to see are going to be somehow typical for the Soviet generation, which makes it very interesting. That's the building where my granny lived. It's a typical Soviet-style building called Khrushchevka, because it was built in Khrushchev times. Despite of the age of this building, apartments here are still being bought. What I want to say is people, especially those who come from far regions, like coming from the north or far east, they're still interested to live in some kind of a calm town, in a calm region with good climate, like my town. Okay, we're in. And this is a mistress of this place, and I'm pretty sure that she is not against of our visit, because she was very talkative, and also she was a big hoarder. I think that's a common trait for all the Soviet people, because the Soviets were kinda poor but very helpful. This is one of the reasons why there are always a lot of things around, and every free space is filled with something, because they didn't take money, they took things. The apartment we are in is quite messy, and entering the apartment you see first the library. But before we talk more about books, let's pay attention to this piece of furniture, which was made by my grandpa. Unfortunately, I never knew him, but I know that he made it by himself. All I know is he was not a very learned person, but he was a great handyman. And my granny was quite a learned person. She loved reading, yes, and she loved collecting books. She thought that every Soviet person should be intelligent. This section is devoted to some textbooks, school textbooks. We can see Russian language for 5th grade, Russian language for 7th grade, some of my book about adventure, but also Soviet encyclopedias. Let's see the year of this encyclopedia. Let me get it out. This one is devoted to plants and animals. It has my granny's sign, so she bought it in 74th year. And the encyclopedia was pretty fresh, 73rd year. This section is devoted more to radio electronics, which is my father's interest. I never opened any kind of books because I'm far away from physics and math. The upper floor of the library is my favorite, because that's the place where classic books are gathered. I grew up in a time when we didn't have internet yet. I was very interested in reading books, and my granny really met my needs. She collected them all when my dad actually was at school. So all these books were collected from the Soviet Union. I can't say that there are really old books. For example, if we take any book looking old and check the year right quick, it will be 1960. I have never seen any book from the 19th century. They all taken from the Soviet Union. And I read many of them, especially I loved reading adventures, something about islands, treasures, pirates, some kind of romantic historical things. I also loved reading foreign writers and Russian writers. My favorite ones are Jules Verne, a French writer, and his Mysterious Island. I read this book several times. Let's check the year. 1987. Yes, and another my favorite book is I like to read Mikhail Bulgakov. That's the person who wrote Master and Margarita. This book is relatively new. So, among the most important foreign writers, I would call Victor Hugo, Jules Verne, Goethe, and among the most important Russian writers, I would call everybody. Lev Tolstoy, Alexei Tolstoy, Alexander Pushkin, Lermontov, Maxim Gorky. There are plenty of them. And I can't tell you that my granny really read all the books from her library, but I can make you sure that she read all the books from her own library. She was a very believing person and she had a lot of Orthodox books. About priests, about saints, about Jesus Christ, Bible, and so on. Of course, you can say that the Soviet Union and religion are staying really apart from each other, and you will be right. But in my opinion, it is never late to start believing in God. And that's what basically happened to my granny. So you probably already noticed that the library is really mixed with dishes. We have plenty of cups, like beautiful cups, it's not an everyday cup. We have plenty of glasses for each occasion. This one is for vodka, this one is for vodka, this one is for stewed drink called kompot. This one is also for vodka, as you can imagine, but keep in mind that my granny was not an alcoholic. Being at a Soviet person's home, you're going to see also plenty of glass statues, little statues, figures like that, or ceramic figures like that. They have no use, they serve just for beauty and to make little kids to wipe the dust. I can speak about the dishes all the time because the dishes really take a lot of place. But I particularly wanted to mention this ram. I found this ram in a basement. Several days ago. I've never seen this ram in my life. Yes, it's a piece of dish because it's a cute bottle. It was used as water and or wine reservoir. But what I want to say is a curious story connected with this beautiful thing. It's a Soviet ceramic. My granny bought this ram. It's a pretty heavy thing. The weight of it is 1.5 kilos. And my granny bought it, I think, in 60s, back in 60s or 70s. So it's quite an old thing. However, it doesn't really need that thing. My dad said that first in his childhood this ram was staying there. But one day my granny also got beautiful glasses, vodka glasses, and she put these glasses into the same place. And Ram, since he's taken a lot of space, was removed to a basement. In other words, when I found this ram was in the basement since that time without seeing the light, the daylight, for maybe around 30 years. Oh, even longer, much longer. This ram didn't even know that the Soviet Union ceased to exist. So, hey buddy, wake up, there is no Soviet Union anymore. Also, catch a piece of advice from this ram. You need to be made of stone to be able to digest all the events in your life like him during 50, 60, 70 years. And this is the best friend of many Soviet people. It's a very old sewing machine. I am not sure about the year of this machine, but it is still working. Back in the Soviet Union time, even during most prosperous Soviet times, people didn't have much to wear, and there were many tailors, like my granny, who sewed a lot of things for the whole family. And my granny loved sewing. Rephrasing a famous song, I can definitely say that my granny was a tailor and she sewed my new blue jeans. It's just truth. Let's see how this machine is working now. Let's make a couple of lines. Say that there was no internet in the Soviet Union, but I can argue with you, especially after what I found. The thing is, the Soviet people had their Wikipedia, but it was a handmade Wikipedia. Popular actors, cinema, singers. Every newspaper was gathered by hand. Everything was my granny was interested in, wanted to read about. I have a feeling it was storaged and forgotten. But it's just interesting to see because all these papers reflect the lifestyle of famous people. This singer, by the way, is one of my favorite singers. So I can say that this Wikipedia is still working and maybe even better than the one you have in your computer. And finally, I wanted to show you one of the most important things for any Soviet family. It's a New Year toys for tree decoration. They all made of glass. That means that they are very fragile. They were very expensive back then in the Soviet time. People used to decorate their trees with real cones, with pieces of cotton, and with these glass things. Nowadays we don't really use these toys because, as I said already, they're very fragile. There are many cats and little children living in the apartments. Sometimes we use modern glass and sometimes we use plastic. But back then, it was a real charm of that tree. My granny loved writing down things so anybody like you and me can easily understand what's inside. It says there is garland for Christmas tree here. So we can take this box with Soviet garlands for Christmas tree and to see if they're still working. There are two garlands. I remember this white garland from my childhood. Oi, hold on. Okay, this garland is working well. Interesting, but I can say it's very tangled, not really easy. To untangle it, let's check the second one. What's interesting, the second one is also working. I didn't expect that because, as you can see, somebody smart tied it with tape trying to fix it, but it looks like it didn't mess up the work of this garland. It's time for us to leave now. I hope you enjoyed the video and now you can imagine a life of a common Soviet person a little bit better. Stay tuned, there are going to be more videos about Russia and about all the places we go together with my dear Mish. Пока!